There is a storm over the estate of Collinwood, and as the lightning flashes, an ambulance leaves the great house. For this night, an aged silversmith arrived with important information, which might give two people a clue to the dangers that threaten them. For now the silversmith is dead, and no one knows how he died.
Well?
The autopsy shows he died of heart failure.
The same explanation for Janet Findley's death, too. Curious so many hearts should stop in this house.
Barnabas, I watched the autopsy. Mr. Braithwaite was very old. He'd had a condition of heart trouble.
Do you believe this autopsy, do you?
Well, I see no reason not to. There was no sign of any violence. There were no marks on his body. Barnabas, you said yourself that you found him simply sitting in the chair. The room was not disturbed. Personally, I think that if someone had been with him, they might have been able to save him.
Someone was in this room, Julia.
Barnabas.
I know that.
How do you?
Because I know that Ezra Braithwaite was murdered here tonight.
Barnabas, how do you know he was murdered?
Braithwaite had a ledger when he came to the house. David told me that. He was sitting here at this desk. Now, where's the book? I searched the room. Braithwaite was here the entire time.
Do you mean that someone killed him to get the book?
He had information that someone didn't want us to know. Braithwaite knew who he had sold that book to, that pentagram so many years ago.
Barnabas, have you questioned David about the ledger?
No, not since we found the body. He was too upset.
Who else was in the house?
I questioned everybody who was here at the time.
Barnabas, there must be someone that you suspect.
Julia, the figure of the woman that we saw, the one who led us over to Chris's house and who took Chris to the woods where the pentagram was buried, that figure was directly responsible for Ezra Braithwaite being in this house.
Barnabas, she wouldn't have killed him after doing all that. That doesn't make any sense.
Now, wait. Think of the man that Mrs. Johnson saw. The man who was dressed in old-fashioned clothes.
Mrs. Johnson is a repressed hysteric.
But Maggie Evans saw him, too. Now, suppose this man and the woman we saw are in conflict. She wants us to know her secret. He doesn't.
Then we're all in danger, aren't we? There's nothing we can do about it.
There's one thing. The spirits have a helper. An unwilling one, perhaps, but they do have a helper. We must make him help us, too.
Quentin won't know. I stole it from his room. He simply threw it on his desk. He won't look for it again. I have to find out why he did what he did. Accounts. Braithwaite and Company. January to June, 1897.
Beth! Quentin sent you, didn't he? Don't tell him I have the book. Please don't tell him. I just had to find out why. He's terrible, Beth. He says he won't hurt anyone, and oh, I hate him, Beth. Don't come near me. I won't give you this book. I can't. Don't tell him I have it, Beth, please. You can just tell him that I don't have it. Can't you? You won't tell him? He didn't send you. You want me to open the book? You want me to know? One silver pentagram, engraved with the quotation, "To guard you from the wrath of Cerberus," purchased by Miss Beth Chavez, charged to the account of Quentin Collins. Why is this so important, Beth? Why would Quentin kill for it? He's coming. You're in this room, aren't you, Quentin? I can tell you're in here. All right, Quentin. I stole the book because you promised that you wouldn't hurt him. I'm sorry, Quentin. I won't do anything like that again. I'll do anything you say, Quentin. Quentin!
David? You didn't answer, David. Why not?
I was scared.
I know it's been an upsetting evening for you, and I don't want to make it worse, but there's something I must know. You told me that Mr. Braithwaite had a ledger when he came to the house.
Did I?
Now, surely you remember saying that.
I guess I did.
Now, David, this is terribly important.
Why? Why is it so important? What does it matter whether he had a ledger or not?
If he had a ledger, someone took it.
And I guess I've made a mistake.
No, David. I'm sure you didn't.
All right. He had something under his arm.
David, when you took him into the drawing room, did he put this something on the desk? Did he, David? David, did you take the ledger?
You always accuse me.
You always put yourself in a position where I have to.
I didn't want him to die.
Of course you didn't, David.
We know that.
Well, then why are you accusing me? I wish I'd never opened that door. I wish I went to Portland to get my father. Then you wouldn't think that I had anything to do with it. Well, I didn't. You hear me? I didn't. So leave me alone.
David Collins.
Father, he thinks I took the book. He thinks I had something to do with it. Father, he hates me. He hates me.
Barnabas, what does all this mean?
Now that you've heard the whole story, Roger?
Poor Mr. Braithwaite, a master craftsman in the old tradition. But surely you and Julia realize the effect of his finding the body.
Of course we did.
If you don't mind, I would like to be alone with my son.
As you wish, Roger.
All this fuss over an old account book. Really, Barnabas, I think your fascination for the past has made you lose a sense of proportion.
Roger, please.
If you don't mind, we can speak of this later.
You don't think I took the book, do you, Father?
Of course not, son. I'm afraid, David, that Mr. Braithwaite's death has unnerved Cousin Barnabas for some unexplainable reason.
I'm glad you're back.
Are you?
I've missed you so much.
Yes, not enough to come to the airport to meet me.
Oh, that.
Yes, you were very rude to your Aunt Elizabeth about it. And I think you should know how hurt I was.
Well, I just couldn't come. That's all.
Yes, I know, she told me. But I'd like to know your reason.
Father, so many things have happened since you've been away.
Yes, I know, so I've been told.
Well, I knew that you and Aunt Elizabeth would just sit in the car and talk about Vicky and things, and I'd just be so bored.
Bored is hardly a word that should be in your vocabulary at your age. David. Oh, I'm sorry, son. I didn't mean to criticize you. You know, on the plane I was thinking how you and I need to be better friends. And I hope that you would be willing to make the effort. I know I am. David, why don't you turn around and look at me? You're crying, son.
No, I'm not.
Now, why won't you admit that? Why can't I help you? I tell you what. Why don't you tell me in your own words what's really been happening here since I've been away? I'm sure you know a lot of interesting things that your Aunt Elizabeth doesn't.
I don't know anything.
I see. Well, if you decide you do, you know where you can find me. Good night, David.
Felt the same about this room since the seance. I heard that woman's voice warning us. Ever since then, there's been nothing but trouble.
Julia and I were talking about that tonight. Elizabeth, tell me, where do you keep your family records?
What we're really interested in are photograph albums.
Well, family receipts and accounts, too. You keep them still, surely.
Oh, yes.
Would you mind if we saw them?
Tonight? But an odd thing to do. I suppose you have some reason for it.
Well, could we explain the reason afterwards?
I'd like to know what's happening in my own house. Barnabas, you make me think that something is terribly wrong. Please don't try to protect me.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth, but sometimes we always can't understand a story until the end of it comes.
And I must accept that as an answer.
Of course.
We wish you would.
Certainly I trust you both. And you will explain, even if you are proven wrong tonight.
Surely.
Well, the storage room is locked. I'll go and get the keys. Do you mind if I look in on David first?
Of course.
I won't be a moment.
exactly what are we looking for, Barnabas, may I know?
A letter, perhaps. Or a receipted bill from the jeweler. Even a photograph. A clue, Julia. A clue, that's all we want.
But Barnabas, whoever stopped Braithwaite will stop us.
Barnabas, I thought I left you in charge here.
Roger, how can I be blamed for what's happened here tonight?
Well, you certainly are for upsetting my son.
Roger, the child was the last person to see Braithwaite before he died.
All the more reason for you to be gentle with him.
Roger, can I be frank with you?
I wish you would.
Well, the child's anger, or hysteria, or whatever you want to call it, happened because he knows more than he's willing to tell us.
Are you accusing him of stealing that leisure?
I'm trying to find out what happened to it.
Did you ask the governess or the little child? They were in the house, too. Anyone could have come into the room when David went upstairs to get you.
I
really,
spoke
Barnabas.
to Maggie, Roger, and they didn't leave the room.
Did your questioning leave them in tears, too?
Of course not.
Oh, of course. They are innocent. They have nothing to hide. I really think you've been reading too many bad mystery novels lately, Barnabas. If there is any mystery at all.
What do you mean?
Is this the ledger you're looking for?
It must be.
You really should have searched the room more carefully before you accused my son.
But, Roger, it was not here before.
How could it get there? Did a ghost put it there? Really, Julia?
Well, whoever did must have taken what we wanted to find. Look. A page is missing.
I suppose David is to blame for the torn-out page, too.
I'm blaming no one yet.
Yet? Are you going on with this farce? To pretend that there's a crime when none is evident?
Whenever you're ready, Barnabas.
Now, where are you going now? Another interrogation?
No, Roger, we're not.
Then would you mind staying here and finishing with me?
I'll start, Barnabas.
Roger, I really don't have time to stop and talk.
This is important, Barnabas. Come with me.
Where are we going?
To David's room, of course. The least you can do is apologize.
Roger, you don't know what's been happening here.
Indeed, I do. You're responsible for causing general hysteria among the children. The condition my poor sister is in, babbling in the car about voices and ghosts.
As a result of a seance.
Well, you shouldn't have allowed that. You certainly are aware of Elizabeth's condition. After what she's been through, of course she would be susceptible to this kind of nonsense.
Roger, I can't explain.
Of course you can't. But at least you can undo some of the harm you've done by apologizing to my son. And if you're unwilling to do that, you're no longer welcome in this house.
Look at this. No one has been here in years. You sure you don't want me to stay down here with you?
What isn't necessary?
I don't know where you're going to start. All these books and ledgers. I often wonder why I saved them all.
I'm very glad you did.
Are you? Why? I'm not supposed to ask that question. All right. But I am so concerned. Roger doesn't think that anything is wrong. Roger is very fortunate. He only believes what he sees. Will you lock the door when you leave?
Of course.
Good night.
It is impossible. 1897. The same woman who led us to Chris's cottage. Who is in this room? Who is here? Answer me!